everyone. Before calling this public meeting of council to order, I would respectfully acknowledge on behalf of council and the community that the city of Pembroke resides on the unceded traditional territory of the Algonquin people. We thank the generations of people who have taken care of this land for thousands of years. It is with this statement that we honor and respect the Algonquins on whose land we reside. I call this meeting to order for April 1st of the public meeting of council. Are there any disclosures of pecuniary interest in relation to the two items on this agenda? Yes, Councillor Keel?
Your Worship, at last Monday's meeting of the Planning Advisory and something committee, Adjustment Committee, thank you, Deputy Mayor. One of the questions raised by residents, and this is pertaining to the 730 Siccilia Street one. One of the questions raised by residents was whether or not the proposed builder has had any contact with any of the members of the committee. At the time, not recognizing the name, I did not believe that I did, but partway through the meeting, it was discovered that Mr. Menard and I had met in my office on a different file matter last year. I have consulted with the Integrity Commissioner and provided her with the details. It is her opinion that I do not have a code of conduct conflict of interest, nor do I have a Municipal Conflict of Interest Act conflict of interest. However, it would be my position that seeking the lowest common denominator should not be what we aim for as politicians. I have therefore reflected on it, and given that Mr. Menard and I do have a brief and unrelated relationship, I will be stepping away for that matter, despite the fact that there's no apparent technical conflict of interest.
Okay, thank you. Any others wish to speak to this item? Seeing none, I'd entertain a motion for the approval of this agenda. I have the Deputy Mayor, seconded by Councillor Purcell. Those in favor? That is carried. Brings us to the first item for this evening, which is Z42025, which is 730 Siccilia Street. Just for the minutes, reflecting that Councillor Keel is leaving the council table. This meeting has been called to consider the application under the City of Pembroke Zoning's Bylaw 2020-05 to rezone the property municipally known as 730 Siccilia Street from an open space OS zone to residential type 348-R348 zone. Clerk, would you please report on how notice was given?
Notice was given by mail to all owners of property within a 120-meter radius of the subject land, by email to all applicable agencies, and was posted on site on February 28, 2005.
Thank you. And I'd now ask for a report from Ms. Sorio, who's the Director of Planning, Building, and Bylaw regarding this application.
Thank you. So the applicant, Mr. Menard, has submitted a site plan proposing the construction of a sixplex, so 6 dwelling units, on the property known as 730 Siccilia Street, which is the Garden Street Park, or Whitewood Park, as others have called it. The property is currently zoned open space, and the open space zone reflects the use of the property as a neighborhood park in the city. On May 16th, Council of the City of Pembroke passed Bylaw 2023-36, being the city's new sale and disposition of land policy. And under that policy, it states the Economic Development Officer shall establish and maintain a public registry of surplus real property assets owned by the City of Pembroke. And on January 16th, 2024, the Parks and Recreation Committee of Council gave direction to include 8 of 22 identified potential parcels in this surplus inventory. And this included 730 Siccilia Street, which is part of our discussion this evening. In the summer of 2024, Economic Development staff created the city's owned surplus land page on the city's website, and these 8 properties were listed. Development staff, on a council on October 1st, 2024, passed a resolution to formally declare the 8 parcels as surplus, as is required by the land sales policy. So in early February 2025, staff received an offer to purchase for 730 Siccilia Street. On February 18th, 2025, direction was provided to staff that the offer was accepted in principle and that staff was to work with the developer. On February 20th, 2025, the proposed disposal of viable properties. The notice was posted on the city's website for 20 days as per the land sale policy. No comments, questions, or other offers were received during that 20-day period. So the proposed R3-48 zoning is required to specifically allow for the use of a sixplex. The proposed zoning is completely in keeping with the intent of the zoning bylaw, as it meets all applicable zone provisions, such as lot area, lot frontage, side yards, rear yard, etc. So as such, this application can be viewed as in keeping with the intent of the zoning bylaw, with no site-specific relief from any possible zone provisions are required. While Mr. Menard's proposed building height of 35 feet is permitted under any residential zoning within the city of Pembroke, including the existing surrounding residential R1 and R2 zones in the neighborhood of 730 Siccilia Street. Most of the surrounding neighborhood, though, consists of single-story detached dwellings, so from this perspective, the proposed zoning for a sixplex may not be considered compatible with the neighborhood. That being stated, a few blocks north of 730 in an institutional zone is Marion Hill and Cardis House, being more dense use than what exists and that coexists with single detached dwellings on the opposite side of Siccilia Street and in the immediate neighborhood. A further block north is 593 Siccilia Street, which is an apartment building in an R4-11 zone that is surrounded by single detached dwellings. While the immediate surrounding zoning and uses around 730 Siccilia Street may not immediately match the proposed R3-48 zoning, diversity of zoning and uses coexist in many other areas of the city without issue. Regarding parking regulations, the zoning bylaw required 9 parking spaces for the 6 units, and the proposed site plan shows 10. Therefore, the number of spaces, size of spaces, access to driveway, and buffer strips are met on the proposed site plan. The proposed parking area would be accessed via Siccilia Street so that no additional traffic could be added to Garden or Market Streets. 730 Siccilia Street is designated residential in the official plan, which means the predominant use of the land in the areas so designated shall be for all types of residential dwellings. The official plan also states that the city will encourage all forms of residential intensification that creates a potential supply of new housing. Residential intensification will be encouraged in the built-up areas of the city where there is sufficient existing or planned infrastructure to accommodate such development. The official plan also states all residential developments shall be adequately serviced with municipal water and sewer, waste disposal, and utilities. Similarly, the Provincial Planning Statement 2024 directs that planning for sewage and water services shall be accommodated in a timely manner that promotes efficient use and optimization of existing municipal sewage services and municipal water services. Full water and sanitary sewer servicing are available to 730 Siccilia. The requirement of a building permit for the proposed sixplex will trigger the approval of the operations department to ensure adequate servicing capacity to the properties. Further, this application proposes residential intensification within a previously developed area, which would introduce new housing options and result in a net increase in residential units, which is highly in keeping with the new provincial planning statement. So the planning department does recommend the approval of the zoning bylaw amendment for 730 Siccilia Street to an R3-48 zone, as the application is in keeping with the intents of the zoning bylaw, the official plan, and the provincial planning statement.
Thank you, Ms. Sorio. Ms. Sorio, was there any opposition to this application?
Yes, we've received 19 submissions of opposition. In front of you is a little map which shows there's a circle around the park to show that that's the location of the proposed rezoning. And then the little blue areas, lots, are the submissions, are the locations where the residents have submitted a submission of opposition to this particular application. And there are some residents here this evening that would like to speak.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Sorio. So in an orderly fashion, if there's anyone that wishes to speak in opposition to it, I would ask that you come forward to the microphone, saying your name, your address, and to provide comment to council in respect to this particular application, being mindful that by the sounds of it, there's a number of you here in respect to 5A and not 5B. And so having said that, if we can just be mindful of time and so forth in terms of to enable all of us to have an opportunity to speak. So does anyone wish to speak to this particular item? Okay, so if one at a time, if you want to come forward and to the mic, and then you'll have to make sure you press the button so that it's green so that the folks at home can hear what you're indicating as well.
Good, thanks. Thank you. I did speak with the Planning Committee on March 25th, and I'll try not to be quite as wordy as I was that night, but I won't promise.
So before you start, if you can give your name and address, because
Sure.
some of us won't know who
Sure,
you are.
My name is Terry Sullivan. I live at 198 Garden Street. My property is along the western side of the proposal property. It runs along the whole length of that side. Okay, and up until these changes that were made about that being a park, it bordered the Whitewood Park. Okay. Now, I don't know if we need to speak to anything about communication, but when I got this letter from the city and they're proposing those changes, I was kind of in shock. I said, well, we didn't know that was no longer a park. And I went around the neighborhood, up on Shea and Market and Garden, DeVille. I talked to probably a couple dozen residents, and I asked them, did you know about that? Not one person knew. And I know you put it on your website, but I think as most people do, I go to the website, I look for the skating schedule, I look for upcoming events, that sort of thing. That's what I use. We don't go to particulars about land use and so on, because we're not that knowledgeable about that kind of thing. And so, that being said, I think I came to a shock to a lot of people, and we had quite a turnout here on the Planning Committee. I'll just get my notes here. I noticed one of the comments that was comparing the proposed building to the one that's the Caritas Center, the Gray Sisters building. But of course, there's no house that's borders on that building. It's a beautiful building. Of course, it backs up to the hospital in Marion Hill, and on the east side, you have a green grassy area. You have a sidewalk. You have Siccilia Street. So I went by there the other day, and I said it's got to be at least 200 feet of buffer zone there. And on the south side, you've got Deacon Street, Deacon, anyway, and the hospital parking and so on. So another 200-foot buffer there. So to compare that building in height and to be equivalent to the one that's going on in that little park is really not equivalent. There's a huge buffer area, okay? With regards to the other apartment building further on Siccilia Street, I didn't take any measurements, but there's no way that that's as tall as the proposed building. And plus, that building doesn't have big balconies sticking out the back of it either. So, and again, that's along two streets. It's along, I believe it is Morris, and I believe in Siccilia. Anyway, I do appreciate coming here today to talk about this. My comments today are meant to be constructive criticism, and not meant to be any shape or form a personal attack on anybody or any council member or city employee or developer or whatever. Okay, it's just some constructive criticism. I hope it's taken that way. Any comments today are strictly my own, although I'm confident they are strongly supported by the large turnout of community members at the Planning Committee. You know, we had standing room only. Note that no community members spoke in support of this development at that time. Also, the vote to move this forward to council was not unanimous. I have addressed many of my concerns in my email submission to council. I hope that all members of council have done their due diligence, and will do them, have read all the submissions, have viewed the site plan, have gone down and actually viewed the property at 730 Siccilia, and have gone over to Town Line Road and looked at the building that's under construction now, which will be identical to the one that's proposed for this site. I must say I was very happy that one person on the planning committee stated that they actually had gone down to view the site and decided to change their ideas about it. Okay? And I'm sure there have been others that have been down there or will go down there, okay? One of my concerns today to council as a whole is the city's policy to take land designated as parkland, declassify the land and sell it to developers. Especially land that was specifically set aside as parkland as a condition for the builders to build on all those homes in that area, along Garden and Market and so on. And I talked to some that had their homes built down there. They were maybe in 97, 98. And yeah, they had to set that green space aside to get permission to build these homes. And again, I was surprised, and I talked to that nobody heard about this not being a park anymore and being sold off. Never. I'm not against development. I am aware of the need for community for housing, but I find the type of building development proposed at this site is much too large for the site. It provides actually a minimum of buffer zone for the area homes. And, you know, this is going to tower above all of our bungalow-type homes down there. I have seen other developments in Pembroke that seem much more in harmony with their surroundings, and they haven't used parkland. We should be expanding our parklands for the enjoyment of residents and not selling them off. Pembroke has a right to be part of their parks. I moved here in Pembroke in 1975, thereabouts. I remember the Canada Splint plant being on the river down there. And since over those years, that land there has always been, redeveloped, has been rehabilitated, and we have a beautiful park down there now, Kiwanis Walk, we have Miramichi Lodge down there, Algonquin College, and so on. And, you know, we have a provincial government now with a promise to build 1 million homes. Let's get after our new MPP and get funding to maybe rehab some of these, the property that we had that had been lying dormant for years. I drove along Boundary Road today. I don't know who owns them. I'm not privy to a lot of that information. I see lots of space down there, you know, places for lease space. Maybe we can get some funding from the provincial government to provide some housing. Anyway, as I'm not going to be wordy as was I promised. I think parks belong to all the residents of Pembroke, and again, the residents that I talked to and myself, we were very surprised that was park was sold off. I don't think we should be doing that. And I'll just quote from our the city's Recreation and Parks Guidebook, 2023, this one is, and quoting His Worship Mayor Gervais. My sincere wish that everyone, no matter what age, avail themselves of multiple beautiful parks and a wide range of programs offered in our beautiful city, whether it's a walk by the river, a game of tennis, skating, or yoga in the park. Programs and projects are developed in partnership with the community to bring people together and to provide opportunities for social interaction and to foster community pride. Again, we are proud of our parks, what we've done over the years, and just to sell off and say, oh, that's surplus. Well, I think parks become part of a community, and a community is more than just filling up all the spaces with buildings. I'll stop there for now. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So I saw another hand towards the back. Yeah, come on up. Make sure you press the button so that it's green. Give your name, address, and your comments.
Good evening, council members. My name is Marianne Bertrand, and I live at 110 Shea Avenue. I'm here tonight to speak in opposition to the proposed rezoning of 730 Siccilia. And what I'm about to tell you, I'm sure, is not new to you, but I thought I would speak the importance of green spaces. So first and foremost, green spaces are crucial. Trees don't just beautify our surroundings, they clean the air. Something particularly particularly important given the proximity of our community to industrial areas. Green spaces also provide essential recreational opportunities for all ages, fostering social interactions and improving our collective well-being. Studies have shown that spending time in or near green spaces helps reduce stress and anxiety. Rather than rezoning this property for development, we should be protecting it, even enhancing it, to make it a resource that further benefits the entire community. Beyond human health, there's a biodiversity aspect to consider. This space sustains habitats to native birds and other species. Once it's gone, we lose that. Now, if the rezoning does move forward, and I state again that I'm very opposed to it, here's what I believe will happen. There will be increased traffic, and Siccilia at that end is already very busy with a lot of speeding vehicles. And I worry about this overflow of traffic. Where is it going to go? A lot of people are going to bypass Siccilia and come down Shea Avenue. Now, Shea Avenue is a very quiet street, which is where I live, and there's a lot of children around there. I worry about the overflow parking. Yes, the developer has stated there'll be 10 parking spaces. For 6 units, I think it's clear that it's probably not going to be enough. And Siccilia Street has posted no parking signs, so where is the overflow parking going? Again, it'll flow on to Shea Avenue, putting children at risk. There are 9 children on this quiet street, 9 children under the age of 9, learning how to ride bikes because they can't use Siccilia as there's no sidewalks. So there's a safety concern as well. The section of Siccilia doesn't have sidewalks. It's already unsafe, and and with the added development, the risk will grow. Is this development truly more important than the safety and well-being of the residents here? I understand there's a need for housing, but it should never come at the expense of a small neighborhood green space. Small urban green spaces are of vital importance to a progressive community. Pembroke citizens want to be forward-thinking, not putting blinders on in terms of what makes a healthy community. This property should remain an open space, healthy green space. Council members, you were elected to represent the people of Pembroke, and the people are here tonight asking you to preserve this green space. I trust you will prioritize the needs of the community over a development that doesn't serve all of us. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bertrand. Is there anyone else in the audience that wishes to speak in opposition? Oh, way at the back. Okay. So again, if you want to come forward, make sure the button is green, name, address, and provide comment.
My name is Michael Duff. I live at 100 Shea for over 40 years. I built my own house, and when I bought my property, there was nothing on the other side of Siccilia Street. And I can see they built this new subdivision, which is fine. But now, just tonight, I was sitting in the sunroom before I came here. We built the sunroom about 15 years ago. It cost about $30,000. And tonight, when I was looking at the sunset, it was beautiful. But when this building goes up, I won't be able to see it anymore. So I don't think it should be built. Maybe if they want to build a single-family home, or maybe leave it as green space, you'll be happy. I will be happy. Right now, this year, I'm paying over $5,000 in city taxes. And I think we should, the city should have enough money, instead of selling some property, especially around the core of the city, to make a little bit of extra money. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so there was someone at the back. Yeah, there we go. Come on up. Same words, make sure it's green, name, address, and provide comment.
Myself, I'm Tyler Tom. I live at 112 Shea Ave. It's on the other end of Shea Avenue. It's my daughter, Annabelle. So I just, as a comment for it, we're the residents in the area for each of the parks. I do believe it's 8 parks. Consulted prior to the land being marked as surplus. I don't need an answer on that, but it's something to consider. Because one of the things that was mentioned is that if we decide to, or if you decide to vote tonight to disallow this, then it'll just go to an appeal and we'll lose on the appeal. One of the big things that I noticed as I was reading through the Planning Act and going over what I believe is what we're referencing to most of this as the provincial planning statement for 2024 is what we're using as the justification of why this needs to be rezoned, because we need to provide more housing. I wanted to highlight, it doesn't state in there that we need to rezone parks in order to accomplish that task. I believe there's many other ways that we can do that within our beautiful city. But also, it definitely highlights that public consultation needs to take place prior to the rezoning actually happening. Speaking to every resident around the area, nobody was directly contacted prior to a couple of weeks ago for this itself. So I do believe that there is potential room for litigation on that side of the house if it was to move forward. Cycling down from there. We talked about the unit. So it's a six-place or six-plex type unit with 2 bedrooms each at approximately $2,300 per. It was brought up at the last meeting that they believe that the people that they are targeting for taking possession or renting these units would be business professionals such as lawyers or doctors. Speaking with several colleagues and other young, sorry, not colleagues. When I say that, I don't mean I'm a doctor or anything like that, and far from it. But other people that I know as doctors. Very few that are already established are looking for an apartment. And anyone that is just started into the industry already has the collateral in terms of credit. They're looking more for single-family homes. They can afford to do so. So the people that I asked who basically said that they would be interested in something like this are people that would require dual income in order to afford such a place. In order to do that in the area, I'm sure you've all reviewed that there is not any public transit that's in the area. So in order to make it to anything nearby in terms of employment opportunities, you require vehicles in order to do so. Similar to my wife and I, we both require a vehicle to get to and from work. So at 10 parking spots for 6 units, that's at least 200 what's minimum would be required for something of that size to support the people that would actually be able to afford it. In moving up from that piece, as Marianne mentioned, overflow parking for that as well. If you have any visitors or anything like that, there's also no room for any overflow parking to provide anybody to actually visit the place. My last piece, I'll talk on the other citizen said earlier, who was talking about what the mayor had put in that message. I just want to specifically highlight where they said that that these projects are developed in partnership with the community to bring people together. In doing so, you're essentially looking for the people that are actually utilizing the parks. Who are the ones that are actually going to be impacted the most? And that's why my children wanted to be here. We've talked about the development and what that would mean. We've talked about how, yes, there is another park that is close by. It's the Harvey Fraser? Yes. So it's a nature preserve, which is full of trees. It's fantastic to take a nice walk through. I don't know if anybody's ever tried to play soccer or throw a ball in a forest. It's very difficult to do. And my son, who is extremely passionate about soccer, has a very hard time doing that in our front yard where the slopes go down right into the street. So the best place for him to be able to do that, and that he has been able to do that, is in that park. So I'll leave you with the comments that he made. I asked William, "What do you think?" And he said, "I don't want it to go there." I asked him why. He said, "Because I won't like it." I asked him, "How come?" "Because I won't have fun there. I don't want to have to only play in the backyard or the front yard." He wants to be able to play in an open space where he can actually stretch his legs. And that is the closest place that a 6-year-old can actually get to, even though there's no sidewalks to get there. that is the best place that we can go to actually utilize that space without having to hop in a car and drive. So that's what I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. I know you're no stranger to council, but if you can give your name and your address and your comment.
Rick Power, 183 Duville. Everything that was said here tonight, I was going to repeat, but I look at it that, and I've worked with developers for a long time as an engineer, and it's a money grabbing thing. And everybody on Duville Drive, and I've talked to, is opposed to this apartment building. Now, there's 8 houses all around with their deck that's going to overlook that. They go outside to barbecue or whatever the case may be. What are they looking at? A 35-foot high building. And that park is there for kids. People walk, and they love it. And I hope that it stays the way it is. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Power. Anyone else wish to speak in opposition? Yeah.
I just have one comment.
Okay.
My name's Carol Sullivan, and I
Thank
live
you.
at 198 Garden Street. And my comment is, there was a posting put up by the city, a little stinky stick with a piece of paper about that big, that we had to take a picture with our phone and bring it home and enlarge it so we could read it to find out what it said about this rezoning the park. Now, that was very inadequate, a way of letting people know. One stick had no paper on it on our side, and on the other side, it had paper about that big. I thought that was, just to let you know, maybe you could get better signage when you're going to do something like this. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to speak in opposition?
So my name is Tammy Prescott, and I live at 101 Shea Avenue. And I just wanted to say that I feel that Whitewood Park is essential to our neighborhood and not surplus. I've always known many of the neighborhood children to play sports there, baseball, socializing, and I know one of the reasons that council listed it as surplus that I had read was that they could use Harvey Fraser Park, but as someone else had said, it's a heavily treed nature park, and you can't play sports there or ball, or the reasons that the children use the park. It's just not, I feel, a valid reason, if that was the reason. And the park is just very essential to the health and well-being of our neighborhood. I also feel that if one park in the city is at risk of being sold and rezoned, all parks are at risk of being sold and rezoned. So I think it's important for people to speak up for them. Once the green spaces are gone, they're gone. And I'm not just speaking up for myself or for my neighbors, but for the children, the future generations, to have those green spaces in their neighborhoods. Thank you.
Thank you. So is there anyone else in opposition before I call upon the director again? So no. So Ms. Sorio, has anyone been in support of the application?
Yes, Mayor Gervais, we have Jacob Menard, the applicant, who's here this evening.
Okay, thank you. I'm assuming the light's still green, I'm hoping. So if you wanted to speak to the application, please.
I'm Jacob Menard. I'm the one interested in purchasing 730 Siccilia. Like it was mentioned, our site plan meets all bylaw requirements. There's no minor variances or relief needed. As it was mentioned also that the the trees being cut down, I am in favor in keeping as many trees as possible on the lot. Majority of trees on the Siccilia frontage, and a few trees at the back of the property. I know they're essential to our life and the wildlife, birds, squirrels, all that. It'll help keep privacy for the surrounding homes and keep the mature look of the neighborhood. We also build these units looking like, you know, semi-detached homes to, you know, and it'll fit into the neighborhood more than regular apartment building complex. And, you know, we are seeking quality tenants. You know, we do have high-end finishes, interior and exterior, to be able to charge a premium rent. So we want people that are going to have a positive impact on the community, people that are going to be good neighbors. And we can also, we are also going to add privacy fencing around the entire perimeter of the property, just to add privacy to the surrounding neighboring properties. So, and I think that touches on everything that I wanted to speak about.
Okay, thank you. At this time, I'd call upon the Chair of Planning Development Committee of Council regarding the Planning Advisory and Adjustment Committee's comments regarding this application. Councillor Giacono?
Thank you, Your Worship, members of council and our guests. There was a lot of discussion and a lot of residents' opinions stated at the Planning Advisory meeting this past week. With due course, they obviously have great sentimental value for the park. We understand that. And I take very favorably to Mr. Sullivan saying that he was here with constructive criticism. I appreciate that. I guess our job is not to say, well, you can do it or you can't do it, but perhaps maybe where we've failed, how to do things better, a little better. So I appreciate the message as well. I'm just going to elaborate a little bit, Your Worship, if you let me. I know you can cut me off anytime you've done it in the past, but just allow me a little presence here. The fact about a small piece of paper posted on a stick, I think we can do a little better than that. I mean, people, that could be our policy. I mean, if it's 4 by 8, maybe that's too big, but maybe it could be 10 by 11 or something of that nature where people could say, you know, at least I knew it would be posted there for some time. And the comment that, you know, we really didn't know about it until the last minute. But I mean, if you look at the chronology from May 16, 2023, this is discussed at council meetings. It was aired on, you know, on the local Cogeco station. Was probably published in the local Daily Observer. So to say that, you know, perhaps residents didn't know, I don't know how we can improve that other than going to every door and knocking on every door. And I don't think that's possible, you know, to be honest with you. So we follow the system that's laid in place by the Planning Act, et cetera, to notify neighbors. And because of the sensitivity of what we're dealing with here is a neighborhood park, and as I said to one of my fellow councillors, I said, how would you feel, you know, if you were living in that area and somebody came to you and said, you know what, you've had that all these years, now you're not going to have it. I would probably be a little uptight as well. However, during the budget process, Your Worship, we all sat around here and we banged our heads on the table wondering how we're going to come up with extra revenue. We had an almost 9% tax increase. I mean, you can have whatever you want, but are the neighbors prepared to absorb the costs where we could be offsetting costs by this particular building, paying taxes, et cetera, over the years? That's the question. If you want the park, you know, council could look at that. But are you prepared to pay? Or are you going to say, no, I'm not prepared to pay another 2% a year to maintain our park system? I guess that's the question. We have to use the resources at hand, and that's what we're doing. We're not doing it to punish people. We're saying, you know, we looked at, and at, you know, at the request of our 2 new councillors that came to the table, they wanted to know where was the surplus land within the city. And tentatively, this is where this report came from. So out of 22 particular surplus pieces of land, 8 were designated as possibilities for resale, for development, or they were odd little shaped pieces of property that you couldn't really do a lot with. But perhaps a neighbor may want to buy a chunk and put it onto his property. We understand that. The issue is 8 pieces out of the 22 came to the forefront. Council looked at them. You know, they said, well, you know, what can we do here? And when you say this is designated parkland, Your Worship and members of council, it was designated under a site plan agreement with other people. it now becomes the property and the priority of the city of Pembroke, who has, under the law, the ability to diversify or sell or do what they will with this particular piece of land. So people are under the consideration that it's parkland forever. That is not the case. But if you look at a piece of property such as Riverside Park, Rotary Park, Kinsman Park, I think those situations are a little different. You know, these are designated parklands that all of the people of the city of Pembroke have access to. Now, you know, I don't live in the East End part of town, and I've driven by there. I've taken a look this past week based on Mr. Sullivan's comments. I've driven by Mr. Menard's building. I've seen people out there working diligently, seen people being employed, you know, getting paid, having a job, having a place to live with, you know, and being able to exist within these hard times that everyone is encountering. So I guess the decision by council will be, when it comes to council, as to whether this is the proper thing to do. That'll be a decision that'll be made around the table. You know, not by people talking to each other on the phone or whatever. It'll be made here. But I just wanted to say there may be a way. How do we improve what we've done wrong? How do we contact people further? I think that we should review that through the planning department and say, you know, how could we improve that so we're not having, you know, 25 or 35 people coming here and saying, you dropped the ball. You know, according to us, we did not drop the ball. We had 8 different areas of communication that took place. And as Mr. Sullivan said, I'm not a computer, I'm not really computer literate either. You know, as you get a little older, I think you know, a phone call or a letter would be more conducive to what you want to see. But not everybody's a computer whiz. So, Your Worship, based on those particular comments, it was a decision of the Planning Committee, not unanimously, as Mr. Sullivan indicated, to bring this back to Council. And those are my statements at this time, Your Worship, members of Council. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Giacono. So at this time in this public meeting, we look to questions from members of council. Are there any questions from members of council at this time for either Ms. Sorio or? Seeing none, if anyone wishes to be notified as to council's decision, please contact Ms. Sorio at City Hall, and I'd entertain a motion to adjourn this public meeting as we move to the second one. Moved by Deputy Mayor, seconded by Councillor Plummer. Those in favor? That is carried. So this public meeting in respect to 730 Siccilia Street is adjourned. Councillor Keel is returning to the council table. Let me know if you can't hear or whatever, and but it's getting warm. At least I'm finding it's warm. Then again, I'm always warm, so. This was only a public meeting, so it's, okay.
Saying that during the planning committee, the vote was 3-2. Mr. Keel has since withdrawn from his decision there, so that makes the vote 2-2.
Actually, it would have made it 3-1.
Okay.
I stand correct.
Oh, all good.
I had a hard time keeping track of all the things that were going on there. Thanks for your
Okay,
attention.
thank you. So this brings us to 5B, which is Z3 2025, which is 570 Elmyra Street, a matter involving a Mr. DeCare and, okay, so this meeting has been called to consider the application under the City of Pembroke zoning bylaw 2020-05 to rezone the property municipally known as 570 Elmyra Street for residential type 2 R2 zone to residential type 4-38 R438 zone. And Madam Clerk, would you please provide notice report on how notice was given?
Notice was given by mail to all owners of property within a 120-meter radius of the subject land, by email to all applicable agencies, and was posted on site on March 3rd, 2025.
Thank you. And Director Soria, would you please provide comment as to the planning report in respect to this application?
Thank you. So the applicant, Brian DeCare, has submitted a site plan proposing the construction of a cluster housing development of 2 row housing dwellings for a total of 14 dwelling units on the land municipally known as 570 Elmyra Street. So cluster housing is defined as 2 or more separate triplex, quadruplex, row houses, and or apartment buildings that are located on the same lot. So the city's proposed zoning bylaw, R4-38, is required from the existing R2 zoning to permit the use of the cluster housing, as well as to grant site-specific relief from the following provisions. One is the group setback, which is more than 3 consecutive row houses are required to be set back or forward a minimum of 1.2 meters from the alignment of others in the row. 4 row dwelling units are proposed in a continuous straight line. So they're asking for relief from that. And the second piece that they're asking relief from is from the minimum front yard setback. 6.1 meters is required, but one of the row dwellings is showing 4.2 meters at a singular point. So the proposed R4-38 zoning can be viewed as meeting the general intent of the zoning bylaw. The combined lands to become 570 Elmyra Street are relatively large and greatly exceed the minimum lot area and minimum dwelling unit requirements. All applicable setbacks, save the front yard setback, are met or exceeded. As such, this application can be viewed as in keeping with the zoning bylaw. The R4-38 zoning is compatible in the neighborhood, as the lands to comprise this area are largely surrounded by residentially zoned properties. Even though these properties are largely single detached dwellings in R2 zones, the aforementioned large lot area and setbacks of 570 Elmyra Street will create a significant buffer from neighboring residential properties, allowing for a gentle density increase in the area. Regarding parking regulations, this requires a total of 28 parking spaces, and 29 are shown on the attached site plan. So therefore, the number of parking spaces, size of spaces, access driveways, and buffer strips are shown to be met on the proposed site plan. The lands to comprise 570 Elmyra are designated in the official plan as mixed use. This designation allows for new commercial and residential development as well as existing uses. As the application involves new residential development, it can be viewed as in keeping with the city's official plan designation. Again, the official plan states the City of Pembroke will encourage all forms of residential intensification that create a potential supply of new housing units. Residential intensification will be encouraged in the built-up areas of the city where there is sufficient existing or planned infrastructure to accommodate such development. And the proposed zoning is strongly in keeping with this direction in the official plan, as the proposed 14 new dwelling units in an already built-up area will contribute to new housing stock through intensification. The official plan requires all residential development to be adequately serviced with municipal water and sanitary sewer. Full water and sanitary sewer services exist to the property, and the requirement of both site plan approval and building permits for the proposed development will trigger the approval of the operations department to ensure adequate servicing capacity to the property. The Provincial Planning Statement 2020 states that planning authorities shall provide for an appropriate range and mix of housing options and densities by permitting and facilitating all types of residential intensification. So again, this new development is highly in keeping with the new provincial planning statement. A site plan agreement will be required for this property. Also, the sale of a piece of Julian Street, the unopened portion of Julian Street, will be required for this property, and the applicant is in the process of going through the requirements to purchase the property. The Planning Department recommends the approval of the zoning bylaw amendment application for 570 Elmyra Street from an R2 to an R4-38 zone, as the application is in keeping with the intents of the zoning bylaw, official plan, and provincial planning statements.
Thank you, Director Sorio. Has there been any opposition to this application?
There has been no opposition to this application.
Okay, and has there been any support for the application?
There is support to the application, and the applicant, Mr. Brian DeCare, is with us via Zoom this evening.
Good evening, Mr. DeCare. It looks like it's a lot nicer and warmer there with the palm trees behind you.
Yes, I know, but my grandchildren are visiting, and so I have to come to a quiet area. They're very young, they're 3 and 2, so.
Must say I'm envious. So did you want to speak to this application, Mr. DeCare?
Well, I've done a lot in the city, and when I purchased the CN lands, this was one of my intents, was to do something with this very separate and convenient area. So I hired a couple of people to give me ideas, although I had one, but that didn't work. But this does. It's fine. I plan on construction as soon as the weather permits.
Okay, thank you.
And I'll go through all the processes of building design and site plan approval, all the things that are required.
Okay, thank you, Mr. DeCare. At this time, if I could call upon Councillor Jacquinot as the Chair of the Planning Development Committee of Council regarding the Planning Advisory and Adjustment Committee's comments regarding this application.
Thank you, Your Worship, members of council. Mr. DeCara appeared electronically at our previous meeting, and the committee was in favor of the development, and we welcome new development. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions from members of council in respect to this application? Seeing none, if you wish to be notified, or if anyone wishes to be notified as to council decision in respect to this particular matter, they should reach out to Director Sorio at City Hall, and I'd entertain a motion to adjourn this one and to adjourn the public meeting of council for April 1st, moved by Deputy Mayor, seconded by Councillor Plummer. Those in favor? And that is carried. We are now adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. I'll call this Planning and Development Committee meeting to order of Tuesday, April 1st, 2025. Are there any disclosures of pecuniary interest and general nature thereof? Seeing none, we'll proceed. Approval or amendment of the meeting agenda. Approval, moved by Councillor Plummer, seconded by the Deputy Mayor. Those in favor? Comments? None? Approved, thank you. The approval of the minutes of Planning and Development Committee of February 4th, 2025. We need a mover. Moved by Councillor Plummer, seconded by Councillor Keel. Errors, omissions? Seeing none. Those in favor? Carried, thank you. Business arising from the minutes? Seeing nothing, we'll proceed. Presentations and delegations. This evening, Mr. Unruh, would you like to introduce our guests, please, and welcome, gentlemen?
Yeah, I'm sure these individuals don't need introductions, but I will. So tonight we have Bob Schrader and Mark Searson providing, and then there's actually a team behind them that they might want to introduce at a later date.
Thank you. Proceed.
Thank you very much, Chairman Jackalo. I appreciate it. I want to thank Mayor Jerva, Deputy Mayor Abdallah, and members of council for the ability to meet with you tonight. We certainly appreciate your time. I'd like to introduce our delegation. We've got Mark Searson, who's our Director of Education for the Renfrew County Catholic District School Board. Mary Lynn Shower, who's the Associate Director. Mary Lynn is the Associate Director of Business Affairs and Treasurer. Julie Huckabone, who's the Principal at Bishop Smith Catholic High School. Ian Bice, who's our Manager of Plant Services. Justin Jeffrey, who's the General Manager of the Renfrew County Joint Transportation Consortium. And Mike Fadock, who's our engineering consultant with JP2G. Okay. Bishop Smith Catholic High School is a secondary school for grades 7 to 12. We have over 1,000 students who attend that school on a daily basis. We have 100 staff members who work there on a daily basis. Bishop Smith Catholic High hosts multiple large-scale events serving Pembroke and the wider community. And I just want to give you an example. A couple of years ago, we built a track at Bishop Smith Catholic High School. I think everybody's aware of the track that we put in. That track complies with provincial standards for a track meet, a provincial track meet. It's the only track in the county that does. Prior to us constructing that track, when they had a county track meet, all the students had to go into Ottawa to a school in Ottawa for a track meet. We built the track in accordance with provincial standards so that we could host that track meet within our own county. So now the Renfrew County students can hold their track meet within Renfrew County. So that's a real benefit. But as you can appreciate, when they have all those children coming in, we not only get all the participants, but we also get a lot of parents who want to come into the school and watch their son or daughter participate. Bishop Smith has also been identified as an emergency evacuation center for the city of Pembroke within the emergency plan, Pembroke's emergency plan. The school also has been identified as a shelter for the Red Cross to be used in case of a large-scale evacuation in any neighboring municipality. Our priorities, of course, as a board and at the school, are student and staff safety, emergency preparedness, and we also recognize that we need to improve the traffic flow to the school and for the community. I think everyone's aware that Bishop Smith only has one entrance into the school. The school and the board would like to propose a second entrance. Our plant administration approached JP2G consultants to discuss the possibility of creating a second access into the schoolyard or into the school site. Our plant administration met with the City of Pembroke, the operations department, to discuss the possibility of a second entrance through Horace Street. The Horace Street access is the most likely possibility, and the board engaged JP2G consultants to prepare an engineering review of the Horace Street access site. And I think in your package, you received a copy of the engineering report that clearly showed that Horace Street is capable of sustaining the traffic that we're proposing on it. We also held the community information session on March the 19th at Bishop Smith Catholic High School, and we invited all the residents of Everett Street, Carmody Street, Horace Street, and other individuals, community members, to attend. And we wanted to show them what we were proposing and get their feedback. You can ask why now. I think most of us recognize that that school was built in 1964. It's been there a long time. Recent incidents have highlighted the need for an additional access point to Bishop Smith. As I pointed out before, there's only one entry into the campus. There's no emergency access for fire, ambulance, police if the main access isn't available. We're very much aware that the OPP, the Pembroke Fire Department, and paramedics have clearly stated time and time again that we should have a second access into that facility. They're concerned about it. If anything ever happened, they're concerned about access. There's also liability exposure. The board, through the student safety surveys, it's been identified that the single access is a safety hazard for the school. We're very concerned as a board that we, first of all, recognize it and we do something about it. If we don't, and something will, heaven forbid, something will occur at the school, then potentially the board could be held liable for it. So we're trying to do our due diligence. There's also a health and safety concern with the walkers, traffic and walkers along that travel along Carmody Street, and we recognize the severe congestion of traffic along Carmody Street. I think if anyone's been at the school at the end of the school day and saw the buses lined up, the parents coming in to pick up the children, it is a hazard. We've had some recent incidents. In May 2023, there was a feeder school track meet at Bishop. At the same time, a water main happened on Carmody Street. Between the visitors to the school and the necessary repair work, there was a lot of confusion and indeed unsafe congestion. I think we're all aware that when a water main breaks, the city does a wonderful job of trying to repair it as quickly as possible because they recognize that they want to maintain a safe water supply. So they get out there and they do it right away. We also recognize that when they're doing that, they have to have some pretty heavy equipment around. They have backhoes, they have pumper trucks, they've got gravel trucks, they've got a lot of equipment there, they've got a lot of workers there as well. And normally, under normal circumstances, they close off the street for the safety of the workers, moving equipment around, and for the safety of the public as well. In this particular case, they couldn't do it because of the school and the access. End of the school day, they were trying to get buses out, they were trying to get cars out. It wasn't a good situation. I think the city did a wonderful job in trying to accommodate the school, but certainly it wasn't a good situation. In October of 2024, there was a fire alarm at the end of the school day. Fire trucks attended, but they couldn't get down the road because of the bus and car traffic. They couldn't enter the site. Again, an unsafe situation. In December 2024, unfortunately, there was a bus and pedestrian accident. At the end of the school day, a pedestrian, one of our neighbors, was struck by a bus at the corner of Carmody and Everett Street. Again, with the ambulances, police, all the rest of it, people couldn't access or egress the site. So our proposed solution is to acquire some city land at the end of Horace Street, create a second entrance via Horace Street, construct a roadway around the exterior of the property, reconfigure the parking and transportation loading and unloading, and improve safety on the school site and traffic flow for the community. As you can see the display over here, and maybe I'll ask Mark to go over to the display. Right now, we've got 40 vehicles entering the site. 40 vehicles in the school buses in the morning, 40 at night. We've got 26 full-size buses, 5 minivans, and 5 minibuses and 9 minivans. And what we're proposing is the buses will enter the school in the morning, down Horace Street, down through the roadway, and their drop-off location is going to change to the front of the school. So what that's going to mean is it's going to mean that we can get more buses into the site to drop the children off in a safe location. We're proposing to have the parent drop-off now to be at the back of the school, so the parents should come down this way, come in, and that would be the drop-off area where parents could drop their children off. We know that we've got 6 or 8 buses that go from Bishop Smith Catholic High School to Fellows on a daily basis. Those buses right now, when they leave the school, they have to make that turn at the corner of Carmody and Everett, that 260-degree turn. I don't know how the guys do it. Like, it's remarkable to see them actually take one of those big buses and move it around that corner onto Everett Street. What we're proposing is those 6 buses would come back out, turn around in here, come back out, come down here, and come out the roadway onto Horace Street and exit Horace Street and turn left then onto Everett Street. Much safer, and much easier location. Thank you very much, Mark. The benefits of this new entrance. The second access point is to the school and for emergency response, obviously. It's going to eliminate some traffic congestion. It's going to reduce the traffic problem at Carmody, Everett, Christie, and Eganville Road intersection. And anybody that's, that's got to be one of the worst intersections that we have in the city. It's extremely difficult to maneuver around. It's going to improve school infrastructure for the community. It's going to be safer driver maneuvers for school bus transportation vehicles entering and exiting the school site. With where we're proposing to have the drop-off and pickup and the staging area for the buses, it's going to mean quicker loading and unloading of the buses. We can load and unload buses, more buses, get them off the site quicker, so it's going to mean less congestion on both Horace Street and certainly on Carmody Street as well. So what we're looking for now, next slide please, is we're asking City Council for the permission to connect roads via Horace Street. We recognize that there is some non-viable city land at the end of the street. We understand that I understand that it's about 0.85 of an acre. The estimated value of the property is around $10,200. But I also recognize that the city policy allows for a nominal fee payment if the non-viable land is purchased by another publicly funded institution. So what I understand is the city could sell that to the board for $1 to help us solve this unsafe situation at the school. We looked at the visibility of buses exiting Horace Street onto Everett Street. And as you can see, the sight line for the bus drivers, both looking southeast and northwest, is very clear. They can do it very, very safely. This little video shows a bus turning onto Horace Street from Everett Street. And I think the video should work. Yeah, there we go. And that's the big bus. That's a 72 passenger bus. And you can see they've done it very, very safely, very easily. It worked out very, very well. The next video shows the bus turning onto Everett Street from Horace Street. And again, done very, very safely without any difficulty whatsoever. It's a much easier egress out of the school turning left. We recognize that we have 134 walkers. We have 77 students that utilize the Mary Street path and the footbridge, 23 students that use Carmody Street, and 34 students that use the Horace Street. We do have feedback from the community information session held on March the 19th, 2025, And as you can see, we had approximately 40 people attend that meeting. We had 16 feedback forms out of the 40. 15 supported the proposal. One person did not out of the 15 forms that we received. We had a number of comments and concerns. Certainly improve Horace Street infrastructure. They talked about safety on Carmody Street, emphasize collaboration between the school board, City of Pembroke, and the residents to ensure equitable solutions. Certainly strong support by the neighborhood for the second entrance to alleviate traffic and improve safety. Certainly the bus drivers are certainly in favor of the second entrance. So that's basically our presentation for this evening. We look forward to continued collaboration and appreciate your support. We recognize, and I want you folks to recognize that the board is prepared to put a proper roadway in. That proper roadway, it's going to be constructed properly. It's going to be constructed to today's standards for a roadway, and we're prepared. The school board is prepared to put $1 million into this roadway in order to correct this. In order to correct the situation. So we are asking for the city's support in this endeavor. So thank you very much. If you've got any questions, we're more than happy to answer whatever questions the mayor or deputy mayor or councillors may have.
Thank you, gentlemen. Questions from council, your worship?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So thank you for your presentation. As you know, a number of members of council did attend the public information session. Really liked your presentation. I'm wondering, though, for the members of council that weren't able to attend that night, or just the public at large, I know one of the topics that was brought up is why not Norman Street, and I know there was definite good answers as to why not Norman Street, but nonetheless, so for the benefit of everyone, so we're all on the same page, if you could comment on that one. And then I only have one other question is that after that public meeting, I know a number of us were speaking to one particular resident, and the inquiry was more about concerns, not necessarily about Horace Street, but about vehicles going onto school property, speed at which they might go onto school property. And so I'm just wondering, has there been any thoughts, engineering or otherwise, whether it's speed bumps or whatever, to alleviate those types of concerns? So that's the two different requests or questions.
Yeah. Mike, could you speak to Norman Street, please?
Sure. Colleen was kind enough just to bring the mic over. So with respect to Norman Street, we had reviewed the possibility of being able to connect to it. Unfortunately, if you attend Norman Street and look down, there is quite a dip and then a rise coming out of Norman Street. So you'd have to come through quite the hill. And we were concerned at the time that that hill would maybe not be traversable with standard vertical curves, so that, you know, it'd be too sharp going up for vehicles to traverse. And conversely, Horace Street is substantially flatter when you're going through there, so it's just an easier route. Additionally, there is, at the end of Norman Street, there is a section of private property which is not controlled by the city. So unfortunately, when you add another private party into the mix, oftentimes that would make negotiations more challenging. So, you know, the school board decided at that time that it was easier just to have discussions solely with the city, because even under the Norman Street option, we would still be before you asking for some property. Because, like I said, Norman Street, private property, city property, then school board in order to make it. As to the second question with respect to what I'd like to call traffic calming, in order to make sure that there's no excess speed, you can actually see on the plan we've already not intentionally included calming measures, but it is not a straight shot on the new driveway from Horace, and that's largely because we are trying to avoid obstacles while managing costs of construction. The obstacles in question are all of the rubberized track surfaces and all of the track and field features. I think there's like a shot put, high jump, So we're trying to work around all that and the fields, because we had explored options, alternative routes, but this was what was deemed best because it was the least impactful to the existing soccer fields, rubberized surfaces, etc. So we're really trying to conserve those features. So again, that's kind of why we're here, because we do require some city lands, obviously.
Further, your worship, or?
I guess, and then I'll leave it at that. The one last question would be, so clearly the stretch from Horace Street in is school board, if the city of Pembroke saw fit to sell some land plus the rest, it would be school property, and I'm taking it, being that it's school property, there would be signage and that sort of thing?
Yeah, most definitely, yes.
Other members of council, questions? Councilor Purcell?
Thanks again for your presentation. I had the privilege of attending the information session that you had at the school. We talked about the pedestrian and improving the pedestrian safety, and maybe it's just overlooked, but the pedestrian path that goes across now from Horace Street.
Yeah, there is.
I'm just wondering if you just point that out, just so that people can have a better appreciation. And in the wintertime, those 35 users, it's just a cow path, right? It's that they're utilizing?
Yeah, it is
so
right
again,
now.
in terms of slip, trips, and falls.
It is right now, yeah, because they're really traveling across the field right now.
And you would maintain that piece of
walkway,
so that it's salted and sanded
in fact, we
accordingly.
were thinking of doing much like the city did on the Indian Lane, putting a paved pathway through there.
Right.
Much like I've asked time and time again that they do on the Melton. As the mayor clearly knows, the Melton Street area coming over to Our Lady of Lourdes, where again they're walking in mud again this spring. Again, I saw a poor mother this morning with her cart walking through the mud. Yeah, that little pathway, I've asked that be paved, I don't know how many times, but it doesn't seem to
That'll
be
be
able
on
to.
another agenda, I'm sure.
I'm sorry, Mayor.
I think that's perfect, and I think, the only other question that I had, and I think I brought it forward at the last, the information session, was, so since the route that's going down, that's going to house the school buses, so there'd be no personal vehicles on that road then, from what I understand?
No, it's going to be a regular entranceway, much
Okay,
like
okay.
it's going to be the same thing as Carmody Street is now.
Okay.
It's a public road, so people are going to egress it. They're going to utilize it for.
Okay.
But we're with the traffic flow the way it is, and where we're having the parents drop off the students. We think they're going to continue to use the Carmody Street, because Carmody Street's not going to be as busy with the buses lining up along the side. So we're going to instruct the parents that the kind of kiss and ride's going to be where the bus loop is. So we anticipate, but there may be some parents who may come down Horace Street. There's no question about it.
Yeah, and that'd be my concern, because I think you might have a little bit intermingling with pedestrian traffic that are offloading in terms of the bus area, especially.
Well, that's something that, that's certainly a consideration. It's something that we would certainly look at as well.
What I assumed is that, Carmody would continue to be the vehicle traffic in terms of the drop-off. You'd restrict the other access just for bus and emergency vehicles.
Well, there's a wide enough area where the buses are going to line up and the bus openings are going to be on the right-hand side.
Okay.
So where the buses line up, there would be sufficient area for a car to go along that route quite safely and not interfere with the buses.
Okay. I'm just thinking at the pinch point at the top, right at the where the bus is.
Yeah, that's a fairly wide area there.
Right.
Yeah, it's not bad.
Okay.
It's not bad. Again, once we have it constructed and utilize it, then we'll see what the issues are,
Right.
and we'll
We can
make
address
the
that.
necessary corrections.
Yeah, I applaud the school board in terms of, putting a safety first lens in terms of, this issue. And also the track improvement. I ran that track with Ron Needham, I don't know how many times when I was going to school.
It's
certainly
not-
wasn't a
it's-
very good track at that
it's-
time. I might
it's a
have
much
some wet
better
feet
track
and-
now.
And some mud, but
Yeah.
That being said, I do appreciate your efforts, and I do think that it is going to improve the safety, especially when it comes to that Carmody Everett Street corner. And if you have 30 buses, with only 8 coming this way and turning, I guess it would be west on Everett, I think it's really going to make a difference. So, and also, having a pathway for the walkers, and that lines up with the sidewalk across the street. So it'll be like.
And just to add to your original points, all of our walking paths at the back of the school that connect to the footbridge, they've all been redone in the last few years and all paved. And you can talk more about the snow removal, but it's easy. We maintain it all winter long in those. So if, after the road was approved and decided, and the community felt it makes sense, we can have a walking path connect here, being constructed that same way. So it really does allow for greater walkability for the community at large, to get downtown, once through campus, through the maintained winter trails, and then over the bridge, and then up
Thank
that
you.
way as well too. So it's viewed as a community benefit as well.
Great job. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Keel?
So now I'm feeling just a little confused because I was under the impression that the new entrance was going to be for buses only. I'm not sure why I was under that impression, but I was very much under that impression, and I very much enjoyed the impression that I was under. I'm not at all anymore enjoying the new impression that I'm under, because I thought that that was at least going to be, for Horace Street residents, sort of some give and take, was that the only traffic they're going to be seeing are buses 2 times a day, and that it would in fact not be an otherwise open road. So I just want to start, before I give you all of this praise, I want you to know that I'm not happy with that apparent correction in my thinking. And it's a very big impression in my thinking, and one that I'm now going to say that I'm not sure that I support this new plan anymore. With respect to everything else that was said, I think clearly what we currently have is a safety issue. There's no doubt about that. We've had actual accidents. We've had actual emergency vehicles not able to get to the school when they're needed. That's not theory. Those are actual problems. And I take the safety of our residents very seriously. And I understand that the school is looking out purely for the safety. I mean, there's no way that, I'm not going to speak for the Catholic Board, but I don't think you were sitting there with an extra $1 million thinking, well, what are we going to do? Let's build a road.
Absolutely not.
So I fully accept that this is coming from a place of safety and whatnot. That being said, I think a lot of us have very much heard from the members of Horace Street, and I just want to be clear. There's certain things from the members of Horace Street, and I'm not trying to be rude. I'm just trying to let them know where I'm sitting. When a non-engineer tells me a road can't handle something, with the greatest of respect, I'm not listening to you about whether a road can handle heavy traffic or not. I will listen to engineers, both in the city of Pembroke and at JP2G and elsewhere. When it comes to people without building experience telling me that the road's not wide enough, with all due respect, I'm not listening to you as a resident on that particular issue. I'm listening to engineers, and I'm listening to our wonderful staff here at the city of Pembroke. And I'm saying this just because when I have been, I was about to say accosted, that would be a horrible word to use. When I was questioned at Walmart Sunday night while trying to do groceries, I was able to get a resident on Horace Street to boil down the fact that they just like their quiet road.
That's it.
Because we went through all of the, I told them, with all due respect, I said, we now have an engineering report saying the road is fine. Are you going to argue with that? Well, I'm not going to argue with it. Okay. The road's not wide enough. I said, well, I have an engineering report that says it is. Oh, does it? And we just kept going from one issue to another issue. And finally I said, what is your problem? Let's cut to the chase. I think if anything else for the last 2 years, I've shown that I'm somebody that sits around this table and says, let's just cut to the chase. Well, I've lived there and it's quiet and it's a dead end, and that's why I moved there. And I said, okay, at least we're talking about what we're talking about. So that is why I'm saying to you that my impression, and apparently I'm not the only one that had this impression, was that this road was supposed to be for buses and authorized vehicles only, and we would not be creating a new full traffic flow down Horace Street. And I had comfort in balancing those two issues. So
Okay,
I'm just going to leave my
can I
comment
answer
at that,
Sure. Okay.
whether you
Yeah.
have an answer or not, but I'm just saying I found a peaceful balance in my head when that's what I believed we were talking about. I'm finding a less peaceful balance after the comments to Councillor Purcell.
Well, Councillor Keel, I'd like to address that, a couple of things. I'll give you a personal experience. I live in Broadview. Lived there since 1984. When we bought the house, there was a school on the corner of Broadview and Bell Street. There was a large open field behind me. I had nobody around me for years and years and years. Vacant property. Then all of a sudden, the school was sold, there was a development. Then the field was sold and there was a development. All of a sudden, what was very quiet, I'm now got neighbors all around me. Was I happy? No. But I recognize that I live in a city and I don't control my neighbors. I don't control what's around me. That's a public street. And what we're talking about here is a safety aspect at the school. We need that second entrance. It's a safety issue. And I don't, as the chair of the Catholic School Board, are we going to put $1 million into a road and say to our, a parent who wants to drive their kid to school or pick their child up from school that they can't use that road? No, I'm not prepared to do that. That's $1 million worth of capital investment that the board's putting into that road. The issue is that people who aren't going to the school aren't going to use that road. They're not going to drive in there and drive out. Like, why would somebody do that? In the summertime, have you ever driven into Bishop Smith at the summertime? There's nobody around. I taught my granddaughter to drive, and that's where we went. We went over to Bishop Smith all the time and drove around the parking lot because there's nobody around there. On the weekend, there's nobody around there. So the amount of traffic is going to be minimal. It's going to be sometime in the morning, sometime in the afternoon. Look at the schools on Bell Street. Look at Fellows. Look at Champlain Discovery. They're busy for a period in the morning, but after that, it's normal traffic again. So, and it's not on a main thoroughfare, so I can't see why it's going to increase a tremendous, it's not going to increase a tremendous amount. It's certainly going to be different for a period of time in the morning and a period of time in the afternoon. There's no question in my mind. But that's a specific time, but that's a public street. And we all can appreciate that we've lived on a street for a period of time and it's been a dead end, and then all of a sudden it changes. But, that's the reality of life. You can't, you can't say, well, I live in the street and I'm not going to allow any development. That's not realistic. And Mark?
If I have time, just to add one more piece to the question. And I guess first off, just want to sincerely apologize for that misunderstanding, that miscommunication. I understand clearly why you had that first perception and understand now that what you're hearing is different from that piece. Want to publicly say that, working with Brian and your staff, they have been incredible to be working with, incredible to partner with, brainstorming all of the ideas. And then there was a miscommunication when they had a chance to present to you kind of what it is that we were proposing. And then we had a chance to view it online. And when I saw it, and I kind of clearly saw that, hey, someone mentioned buses only, did reach out to Brian. We had a second meeting, which was wonderful, explained what I saw, what it is the board was thinking, and kind of put together the strategy. Well, hey, let's have a community meeting, make sure that all the voices are heard, people in Everett as well as the people in Horace, and then have your team come present to council and clearly express what our vision is and what we're hoping to achieve. So do understand that first presentation you heard, there was, you might have heard buses only. That was never our intent, and really do apologize for that miscommunication piece. And I think tonight you clearly heard what our hopes and intents would be. I think the natural traffic flow would be quite minimal. I'd see some staff utilizing it from time to time, some parents utilizing it from time to time, just because of the way the natural traffic flow works. But really wanted to make sure we were clear with those intentions and we were forthright with all of you in presenting that. So I apologize for that miscommunication.
Other members of council, Deputy Mayor, are you complete? Oh, I'm done. Okay, very good. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you. Thank you for coming. And yeah, the open house you had was very well presented. So Mr. Lewis, the Director of Operations, attended, and I saw him taking notes, as I was. I've met with some residents in Horace Street, and they're concerned about, sidewalk and upgrades and drainage, but that's a city issue. And so he'll be coming with a report to council on that. I just have a question for Mr. Justin there. Can you, don't want to put you on the spot, but can you explain, like we talked about last week, 40 buses in on Horace Street in the morning, and then some go down Carmody and some go down Horace, and then 40 buses in, approximately 40 on Horace in the afternoon, and some go out. Can you explain the number approximately, how that's going to work?
Sure. So there's 40 vehicles, as Mr. Schrader explained. In the morning, there's a much more natural flow of traffic because parents and the buses sort of arrive on a natural flow. So in the morning, there would be 14 buses that drop off at Bishop, then proceed to Fellows, currently making that sort of nasty turn. In the afternoon, that's really where we cause a lot of traffic congestion because everything's right at that dismissal bell. So everyone's trying to get off the island right at that time. So in the afternoon is where we anticipate the community is going to see less of a traffic congestion. And in the afternoon, there's 8 buses that are required to load at Bishop first, then make that turn and go to Fellows.
So, thank you. Yeah, definitely, it's the liability exposure is a huge thing for the municipality and the school board, of course. And I see the need for something to be done. And we'll have to work with Horace Street residents on the road and that. And this plan you have is flexible, like after 6 months, you'll monitor it and make any changes if necessary?
Perfectly. Yeah, perfectly.
Okay.
Yeah, like if we find there's people speeding along there, then by all means, we want a safe environment. We'll certainly put speed bumps in or whatever else. I think it's important that around schools that people observe the traffic rules, not only at Bishop Smith, but all the schools. We're very conscious about student safety and about them getting to school in a safe environment. We're encouraging more and more children to walk to school. Great exercise. The teachers found during COVID that when the children were walking to school, that they were much calmer when they got into the classroom because of that early morning exercise. We're encouraging people. So we're encouraging children to walk to school as much as possible.
Right.
But certainly we will reevaluate it, and if there is a problem, we will certainly correct it. There's no question about it. We want to be good neighbors. We don't want to create problems for anybody. And if there is problems, then we will act upon it. I was talking with the school principal this morning. Like every school, there's some litter around the school as well. The school's going to arrange to have classes go out with garbage bag and pick up litter. We honestly try and be good neighbors. We want to be good neighbors. But we are honestly trying to correct a safety problem. I can appreciate you people have a responsibility to your residents as well. I can appreciate all the people on Horace Street are chatting with you and saying we don't want this. And I can appreciate when they started building on Morris Street. I certainly wasn't a happy camper. I was very dissatisfied with it and certainly changed the lifestyle. But that became the reality. I experienced it, and I'm sure many of you have experienced it as well. It's a public street, and we're looking for we're looking to rectify a safety issue within the school and indeed improve the traffic flow. I think the residents along Carmody Street have been extremely kind to us over the years with the traffic congestion.
Right.
And I don't think we're making an unreasonable demand. Anyone that lives around a school recognizes that it's busy for a specific time period, and after that, it's really a non-issue.
Right. And the only other comment I'll make is, side note, Carmody Street residents have contacted me about the speeding of some of the buses and the cars, and that's the city's responsibility. And I already spoke to the mayor about it, so that's a side note that we'll have to take care of also. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, gentlemen, for coming, Superintendent Searson and Trustee Schrader. I know that once things fall into place, as a parent, if I were driving my granddaughter, I certainly wouldn't want to be on Horace Street behind 14 buses. So I think I may take the Carmody route instead. And I think these things fall into place. People are creatures of habit, of course, and I think what you're proposing here will be good, not only for the residents of the community, but also for the students and the staff of the school, especially when we're in such changing times. We certainly hope that an incident like Sandy Hook doesn't occur here. You need access quickly in emergency situations, and I think you've covered all the bases. Any other members of council at this time? If not, thank you very much for your presentation.
Thank you very much, Chairman Giacono. Thank you very much, members of council.
Good night. I forgot to thank the team. Thanks, team. Mr. Unruh, the fire chief's report, I believe, council is in possession of the fire chief's report. He will not be here this evening. Mr. Unruh, correct?
Yeah, that's correct. So if there's anything, it's provided for your information. If there's anything, you can direct questions directly to the chief.
Members of council good with that? Thank you. Next item, bylaw enforcement request 58 Pembroke Street West, 120 Lake Street, 227 Lake Street, and 185 Prince Street, Center Capital. Director Soriel.
Good evening. So the we're asking that the City of Pembroke's Planning and Development Committee endorse and recommend to council the approval of Kevin Morton as an additional person authorized to issue parking tickets at the 58 Pembroke Street West, 120 Lake, 227 Lake, and 185 Prince Street. In 2024, Center Capital was granted the ability to ticket vehicles at these 4 locations. And Center Capital is now requesting that an additional employee, Kevin Morton, be granted authority to issue tickets, along with the existing approved ticket issuer, Crystal Sims. So the parking lots associated with these buildings are used daily by the residents of the apartment buildings, and many people are parking illegally in these lots and using up spaces that are reserved for their tenants. Approval to enforce private property has been granted by council due to the fact that enforcement is especially needed during the evening and weekend hours, as this is when parking issues typically occur. The fine for parking without in a private lot without permission is $50. As part of the approval, the owner has agreed to enter into a revised agreement with the city, and a bylaw will be before council at its meeting tonight, as there is a rush to have a new person provided the ability to issue parking tickets as soon as possible, and the revised agreement has been signed by the owner.
Questions, discussion? Councillor Keel.
I'll just make this quick, Mr. Chair. Obviously, I think in my 2 years here, I think we've approved almost all of these on the nod as basically an administrative go-ahead. So this question might come a little out of left field, which is, obviously, Director Soriel, this takes some of your time, and I imagine it takes some of Ms. Charbonneau's time as the clerk to prepare the bylaw and whatnot. So I'm just wondering, should we be charging a nominal cost recovery fee when, and I support these private entities being able to write their own tickets and whatnot, but I'm just wondering if we should be implementing some cost recovery, because we do, in some cases, we seem to make these changes multiple times a year, and I'm just mindful of the fact that it does take staff time, and they are asking us for a city permission, so that would be my only thought. But again, that doesn't really on point with today's report. I fully support making sure that they have the staff that they need to monitor their parking lots.
Thank you, Councillor Kale. Other members of council? Councillor Purcell?
Yeah, I support, the addition. I guess my only question is, and I know that we had chatted in the past in regards to an annual report and of individuals that are provided that authority and the tickets issued. Just to have a better understanding in terms of, are we going through this process, because we have even the snowplow operators that are identified as ticketing capability. Are they actually performing that activity, or is it just, yeah, you know what I'm getting at? Because I've seen multiple times, even just last snowfalls, where plows are going around trucks and beeping horns and doing kinds of things like that, instead of ticketing these individuals that are actually multiple repeats in regards to off hours parking on the streets. So it just kind of loops in terms of the ticketing process and just having a better understanding of that.
Can you answer that, Director,
Sure, if
or-
I can through the chair. We do have bylaw enforcement, goes out whenever there's a snow removal process or it's snowing and they have to do their snow plowing operations. We're out there with the snow plow operator, and so we're in constant contact and trying to find out which vehicles are in the way and trying to get them out of the way. We can provide an annual report, should you like, regarding this particular, like you mean the individual people that are issuing the tickets, like the private.
Certainly, even a list in terms of everybody that we've granted authority.
Oh, sure,
so
okay.
Through the bylaws, and also through these individuals that we've identified that give them the authority for private parking purposes. But just to have a better understanding in terms of how many tickets are being issued, just so we can have appreciation in terms of what that looks like.
Absolutely, we can do that.
Very good. Thank you, Councillor Purcell. You'll bring back that info then,
Absolutely,
Director.
I
Thank
will.
you. Next item, 3-year extension, Brundage Farm Division. Oh, sorry.
I think we needed a motion to endorse the recommendation, which I would
Excuse me.
so move.
Moved by Councillor Keel, seconded by Deputy Mayor to endorse the, as presented. Discussion? Those in favor? Against? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Next item, 3-year extension.
Okay, so the city of Pembroke, Planning Advisory, the city has approved an offer to purchase Brundage Farm in 2011 from Tony Romanelli on behalf of the company Burcom Developments. So the land has an approximate area of 35 acres, and presently the subdivision has been approved for 129 lots for single detached dwellings. So the offer was subject to the developer obtaining a subdivision agreement within 3 years of the purchase. The 3 years expired in 2014, and extension agreements have been approved, with the last agreement being a 3-year period. So the present extension is set to expire on June 13th, 2025. So Burcom Development has submitted an application for a plan of subdivision in 2015, and that application included a Stage 2 archaeological report, a species at risk report, a functional servicing and stormwater management report, and a traffic impact study. Burcom has received draft approval for their subdivision in 2015. However, they have yet to enter into the subdivision agreement. So work that's been done in the past 3 years include a name change. So they're no longer called Burcom Developments. They've changed to Mode Air Homes, and then that name's been changed in October of 2024 to Bear Invest Limited. The developer has also completed a draft copy of the 49M, which is a subdivision plan illustrating a phase 1, which would consist of 40 lots and blocks for stormwater management ponds. This plan was completed in 2024. Engineering for phase 1 has been undertaken, and according to the president, Mr. Orsi, a significant amount of time and funds were required to deal with stormwater management, and this was resolved in July 2023. There were issues regarding a proposed drainage easement. Staff worked with the developer to look at alternative drainage routes, and in August 2023, it was determined to allow the drainage to continue on its natural course without the need for an easement, since a consensus could not be reached with the residents. So the city had received written assurance from the developer's engineer that with the addition of 2 separate stormwater management ponds, the existing flow rates from the development will be maintained where they enter the township of Laurentian Valley. Therefore, the flow of the stream will not be increased nor diminished in quantity, and the subdivision will be moving forward under riparian rights, and no easement would be required. Another thing that they've done during the 3 years is due to requests by the owners of Lloyd Drive, Bear Invest surveyor had to provide physical visual evidence of property information, and this delayed the finalizing of the land titles application. An application for absolute title was approved in January of 2025. In 2023, Burcom redesignated and rezoned an adjacent piece of land, which is about 3 acres in size, to create an additional 9 residential lots. The draft plan conditions of approval were amended, and that was approved in 2023 under Bylaw 2023-68. The developer has been working with the municipality in good faith. However, discussions regarding drainage and associated easements have taken longer than anticipated. All of the studies are complete, and the next step is to enter into a subdivision agreement with the city. The developer has indicated they desire to enter into a subdivision agreement in 2025 and begin servicing the lots in 2026. So the developer has indicated they have spent over $300,000 to date on this project. They are respectfully asking the city to recognize its efforts as a significant commitment, and that the city approve another 3-year extension or remove the buyback provision that formed part of the original agreement. So we've looked at alternatives. One was not extend the agreement and buy back the land from the developer, or number 2, extend the agreement by 3 years or whatever amount the council sees fit, or remove the buyback clause and delete any related provision from title. Therefore, if this option is approved, Bear Invest would not have to come back to council to extend the agreement. So staff is recommending option number 2, like the 3-year extension. This way, staff can ensure that the original condition of entering into a subdivision agreement has been met, and the buyback clause could then be eliminated at that time. We've considered option number 2 based on the fact that all the studies are complete, the drainage issues have been resolved, absolute title has been completed, and a draft 49M plan has been prepared, and they intend to enter into a subdivision agreement in 2025. So committee direction is required, and a bylaw, based on direction, a bylaw and agreement will be prepared for council at its meeting of April 15th.
We have Councillor Plummer, Deputy Mayor, Councillor Kale. Nothing, okay.
Thank you, Chair. Firstly, question to Ms. Sorial. Is there a charge for the extension of the agreement?
No, we have not charged for the
Okay,
extension.
so that probably is number 1 I'd like to change going forward, because I don't know if any council members have been part of a subdivision agreement before or built a subdivision, but currently I am involved in one quite extensively, and it takes a long time to do. I understand that, so I feel for the contract. It does take a long time to get approvals and everything out. But dealing with the county of Renfrew, there's a $1,000 charge every year, and they only give 1-year extension. So every year you need to file an extension, and they charge you $1,000 just based on a little bit of administration, because you're taking staff time. We're presenting at council. It's taking up time here. Personally, I would only allow them for a 1-year extension, and there should be a fee. I'm just giving an example that the county's fee is $1,000 every year. So there's where my position's at. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Kale.
Councillor Plummer stole the wind out of my sails a little bit. I forgot to tell the chair that I wanted to speak, and all of a sudden hands were going up. So I'm going to say this. Not all of this is this particular developer's fault. There's obviously another subdivision that we talk about regularly that hasn't moved in over a decade that I'm not happy about. This one is a little more ironic because there's actually some teeth involved in this one. But I'm with Councillor Plummer. I mean, when we do this extension agreement, and I don't know, I'm not presuming, but does legal look at the extension agreement or draft the extension agreement?
Through you, Mr. Chair, they did the first one, so we've just continued, with, we can get it looked at again, but it was.
Oh, I'm not saying that we should.
Okay.
I was actually piggybacking on Councillor Plummer's thoughts that sometimes there's legal fees with these extensions. There's staff time. So I agree that there should be fees when you're coming back. When I look at your report, if I'm taking it on its face, the developer's indicating that they want to enter into a subdivision agreement this year, begin servicing lots in 2026. So I don't know why they would need a 3-year extension. So I would move that we grant them a 1-year extension. And I'll say this from me personally, I better see something next year, because these are very large subdivisions that quite frankly are important to the city. They are hugely important. I hate putting words in people's mouth, but I believe it was Councillor Purcell that noted during the budget that we had only about $170,000 in growth. If either one of these big subdivisions actually got up and going, that would be some real tax base growth. And we know for a fact, whether it's Laurentian Valley or Petawawa, entire multiple phases of subdivisions have gone up during the same time some of these have been sitting as empty fields. So I would move that we do a 1-year extension, and that hopefully we're not back at this again next year. And I would echo Councillor Plummer's comments, and to Councillor Plummer and the others, Director Soriel and the chair and I have discussed with her that we would like to see some more administrative charges and see that we can get some monies coming from other people, not just the taxpayers. So I suppose Ms. Soriel will add this one to the list as well.
So did that motion include the $1,000 surcharge? Or will you be coming back?
Through you, I don't have the ability at this point. It's not under our fees and services charges. So
basically to adopt the 1-year extension?
Yes, I don't think we would have the authority to impose the $1,000 at this time.
Very good. So we have a seconder for that, Councillor Plummer. Further discussion, Your Worship?
Not to belabor, but simply to inform council that the CEO and I have been having conversations with our new MPP, and this was one of the topics, is developments and what the province could do to lend assistance to try and move developments along, because certainly there is a frustration that we've expressed to him to take back to the province to say, if there's anything we can do through the Planning Act or otherwise, bring it on, because developers need to move things forward in a much quicker, efficient manner, because the province is screaming for new housing and more housing. Well, help us push. Thank you.
Your Worship, thank you.
Very good. So the motion on the floor by Councillor Keel, seconded by Councillor Plummer, is that there will be a 1-year extension to Burcom v. whatever the other companies' names are. Other comments from council? If none, those in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. You have your direction. Councillor Keel?
Are you ready for it?
I'm ready.
Motion to adjourn.
I'm never ready when you put your hand up. Yes, motion to adjourn?
Seconder.
Seconded by Councillor Plummer. Keel and Plummer. Those in favor? Adjourn. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call the council meeting to order for April 1st. If everyone could please take an opportunity to stand for an opening prayer or reflection. Before opening this meeting of council, I would ask those who wish, each in your own way, silently join in a prayer of guidance over these proceedings. Thank you. Any disclosure of pecuniary interest in relation to the items on this council meeting agenda? Seeing none. So moving on to minutes. Approval of minutes, regular meeting of council, March 18th, 2025. Moved by Councillor Keel, seconded by Councillor Giacono. Those in favor? That is carried. Adoption of minutes from committees. There's one, Planning and Development Committee, February 4th, 2025. Moved by Councillor Giacono, seconded by Councillor Purcell. Those in favor? That is carried. And lastly, receiving minutes from local boards. We have Pembroke Public Library Board, February 20th, and we have Ottawa Valley Waste Management Board, November 28th, 2024. I have a motion by the Deputy Mayor, seconded by Councillor Plummer. Those in favor? That is carried. No delegations or presentations. Any business arising from? No. Moving on to proclamations. I do hereby declare April 4th through to the 10th, 2025 as National Dental Hygiene Week in the City of Pembroke. Whereas 59% of Canadian children and 96% of adults have experienced cavities, 21% of Canadian adults have experienced periodontal gum disease issues, and whereas research shows a direct link between oral health and overall health and well-being, such as periodontal disease being linked to several serious illnesses such as lung disease, diabetes, and heart disease. And whereas oral health issues are easily preventable and treatable, and Canadians, especially children and seniors, can be greatly assisted through early detection and intervention. And whereas dental hygiene is the 6th largest registered health profession in Canada, with more than 31,000 registered dental hygienists working in a variety of settings with people of all ages addressing issues related to oral health. And whereas greater awareness of proper oral health practices and the need to regularly visit a dental professional is paramount to ensuring Canadians lead healthier and happier lives. And whereas promoting the importance of issues and celebrating the successes of the profession and contributions of dental hygienists will lead to an increase in public awareness. And so certainly oral health is an important and serious matter impacting all of us. I'm really appreciative of the line in the proclamation that we need to promote the importance of dental issues and celebrate the successes and contributions of dental hygienists, which lead to increased public awareness issues. So therefore, be it resolved that I, Ron Jerva, Mayor of the City of Pembroke, do hereby proclaim the week of April 4th through to the 10th, 2025 as National Dental Hygiene Week in the City of Pembroke. Okay. Bylaws. Councillor Giacono, I understand you have 2025-37.
Thank you, Your Worship. Members of council, moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Keel, that bylaw 2025-37, a bylaw to appoint municipal bylaw enforcement officers to enforce parking provisions in the parking lots associated with 58 Pembroke Street West, 120 Lake Street, 227 Lake Street, and 185 Prince Street be adopted and passed, and further that said bylaw be signed by the mayor and clerk and sealed with the seal of corporation, waiting your signature.
Moved by Councillor Giacono, seconded by Councillor Keel, that bylaw 2025-37, a bylaw to appoint municipal bylaw enforcement officers to enforce parking provisions in the parking lots associated with 58 Pembroke Street West, 120 Lake Street, 227 Lake Street, and 185 Prince Street be adopted and passed, and further that the said bylaw be signed by the mayor and clerk and sealed with the seal of the corporation. Councillor Giacono, did you wish to speak to this item?
Thank you, Your Worship. This was discussed at the Planning and Development Committee earlier this evening and approved by the majority of council.
Thank you. So I'll call the question. Those in favor? That is carried. Thank you. Are there any motions this evening? Seeing none. There's no correspondence. Mayor's report. So good evening, everyone. I wish to bring forward my mayor's report at this time regarding invitations and appearances and other matters. On March 20th, I had the sincere pleasure to attend the Kiwanis Music and Dance Festival at Festival Hall, and truly I tell you that there's lots of talent here in the Valley. I witnessed some new faces and some that I've observed a number of times before, and it's interesting to see the progression of the individuals as they get older and hone their particular craft. And so great work to everyone, and certainly very proud of the Kiwanis Club. March 26th, I had the pleasure of attending the grand kickoff of the new paramedic building that will be located on Boundary Road in Pembroke. The city is always pleased to work with the County of Renfrew, particularly on such topics as providing great ambulance services to our residents. March 27th, the CEO and I had the pleasure of meeting with the Bishop and Father Hawley to discuss various items that we as a community can work together on for the benefit of all ratepayers, and it was truly a very beneficial meeting. Later that day, the CEO and I met again, this time with the Friends of the Pembroke Pool, wherein the CEO, Treasurer, and I were presented with a check to the City of Pembroke to be used towards the Kingsman Pool. It's always heartwarming to know that there's so many giving individuals in our county, particularly when, as we know, our county, the income level is generally lower than other areas, but a very giving lot. March 28th, the CEO and I had the benefit of meeting with our MPP Deneau that I spoke of earlier to discuss various issues and challenges that Pembroke faces. And certainly we look forward to working with our new MPP as we address various challenges. It was most engaging and interesting to go through various different topics, including Algonquin Calls, development, as we discussed earlier, funding, and many more topics. It is nice to see that he has been welcomed by a variety of different colleagues, including Minister Flack, who, being a Valley person, or at least a person of Valley descent, and so certainly he, from my opinion, is certainly settling in, and I think he will be certainly a good ally for us as we move forward with items of concern for the City of Pembroke as it fits in with the province of Ontario. Later that day, I had the pleasure of meeting with Kevin Inglis of Algonquin Times, which is a news media for Algonquin College, to discuss challenges that Algonquin College faces, such as the federal government cap on international students, the cut to provincial funding to the college. I expressed great concern over these various moves and the impact to our local college. He wanted to know the interaction between Algonquin College, the City of Pembroke, the close relationship, and what the college means to us. And so we started back talking about how the college got built on the waterfront, the cooperation with the City of Pembroke, and then through the different variety of years and where we are now and the important working relationship with Algonquin College. Lastly, I want to comment on the Pembroke Lumber Kings, and so I know the individuals around this table certainly support the Pembroke Lumber Kings, certainly a great hockey club here in the City of Pembroke. Unfortunately, they are no longer in the playoffs, so with a sad heart that I announced that as we all know, that the Kings are no longer in the playoffs. Having said that, looking forward to next year already as they move forward. Certainly anyone that follows the Kings knows that they always step to the plate in terms of different community events. One need only look at the most recent, the tragic loss of Jamie Bramberger, and the involvement of the Kings in terms of a honor guard, both at the church as well as at the PMC. So, as always, go Kings, go. And, as always, stay safe and be kind to one another. Are there any notices of motion? Seeing none. Councillor updates. Councillor Purcell?
Just thought I'd take this opportunity, Your Worship, just to talk a little bit about warming center stats that were provided at the recent warming center meeting. That being said, the Director of Community Services provided some stats in regards to utilization of the warming center. Through December to March, there was 109 clients that were supported, 1,246 visits, 881 overnight stays. 90% of the individuals are from the Pembroke area, 61% male, 36% female, 81% of adults, and 13% youth, with 6% seniors. Some of the challenges that they're looking at is also addressing individuals that require services for pets.
So they're looking at animal hospital services, SPCA, and kennels and those kinds of things, so they can better address those types of issues. There is one more warming center meeting, and the warming center will be transitioning into the Heart Hub, some sort of governance structure that'll come forward in terms of the last meeting, and we'll provide an update at that time in regards to what that looks like. I also had the opportunity to attend the CNL Environmental Stewardship Council. Of course, some great work that's happening, of course, at CNL. We provided some information in regards to the contract transition, as well as how the U.S. Canadian retaliatory tariffs and NSDF challenges that are currently taking place. We looked at their commercial program successes, as well as looking at their CNL sitting invitation, and review some information regarding their Center of Fusion Excellence. So again, you know, it's mind-boggling in terms of the amount of services and that are, the number of initiatives that are taking place up at CNL through the the near surface disposal facility, the creation of that. They provided a waste management update, facilities decommissioning. They continue to take down some of those legacy buildings and to address the legacy wastes, which is and to address them in a proper manner, meeting all the requirements. And I think that was it. And also they presented the CNL sustainability report for this year. So that was some very good information there. And I think that is it in terms of meeting information. But thank you.
And thank you for your report, and certainly highlighting the importance of CNL. I think we all recognize that without CNL and the garrison, it would be a very different world for the city of Pembroke. Yeah. Any other councillor updates? Councillor Keel.
Thank you, Your Worship. On March 19th at Algonquin College, I had the opportunity to attend the Two-Spirit Awareness Day. This was a new initiative, I understand, taken on by the college. Certainly, it was difficult to attend. Obviously, they had a wonderful tribute in the student commons to Mr. Bramberger, and I was able to talk to a number of the staff about that, and this, of course, was an initiative that he himself was supporting. But the students that were attending were very upbeat. There was many. The Robbie Dean Center was there. The Sexual Assault Center was there. It was a very informative group of individuals and tables and whatnot set up, and so what a wonderful way to celebrate that in our community. The Ottawa Valley Talent Showcase was held on March 22nd. I had the opportunity to attend that and bring greetings on behalf of the Festival Hall Consortium. This is the second year in a row that the Ottawa Valley Talent Showcase has been held here in Pembroke at our wonderful facility at Festival Hall. There were a great number of winners and everything, Your Worship. I'm not going to go through all of them. They are available on the Festival Hall at L'Equinox Facebook page. I do, however, want to thank Dorian Pierce and Kitchissippi Productions for putting the event on. Shayla Brecken, who is currently the director of CPAN, was the host, and a very energetic and engaging host. And then we had our judges, Cameron Montgomery, Rodina Gardner, Mariana Oberfrank, and somebody named Brian Abdallah. This year, I'll let the deputy mayor talk about it, but this year, Your Worship, there was no clear winner. I am very glad that I was not, in fact, at the judges' table, and hopefully this becomes an annual event. As Your Worship, I know you know, we've talked about it a lot, the talent that we have here in Renfrew County, from music to dance and other arts, and this was 2.5 hours of some of our best talent on display. So I certainly I hope it comes back next year. I know it's called the Ottawa Valley Talent Show, but I'm certainly going to keep on Mr. Pierce suggesting that right here in the heart of the Ottawa Valley at Festival Hall is a wonderful venue to host it. Speaking about that, upcoming to Festival Hall, we got a number of things coming up, Your Worship. On Sunday at 7 p.m. is the Australian Bee Gees show, a tribute to the Bee Gees. So that is this Sunday, an evening performance. On April 12th at 7 p.m. is Pembroke Beatlemania, a tribute obviously to the Beatles. Both of these shows, there are seats, select seats available on the ground floor. There are definitely seats available up in the balcony, but tickets are going quite fast for these two upcoming shows. The Pembroke Symphony Orchestra has their closing, they do 4 shows a year, and their season is closing on Friday, May 2nd. There are seats available for that. And then I'll just do the next 2 because I think our next council meeting will be very close to them. Saturday, May 3rd, Garth and Shania tribute concert. Yes, Your Worship, I already have my tickets. That should be. I do not own a cowboy hat, but maybe that's not a bad suggestion, Deputy Mayor. Well, Deputy Mayor, I'll talk to you after the meeting about some new dress clothes for me. And then on Saturday, June the 7th, Epic Elton, a Elton John tribute concert. So as I'm sure members of council have seen, obviously we have a new director, but the shows really haven't stopped. More have just been announced and added to the calendar. There's already shows with more than a dozen seats sold as far as the end of November already. So I think there's ABBA coming up. There's a Gordon Lightfoot tribute. There's a number of shows in the fall. I'm not going to go into those today. We can talk about those in another meeting. But certainly Festival Hall is not resting. It's getting used quite a lot. And I am also happy to inform council that there was a March break, what are we going to call it? March break camp put on by Mr. Pierce. So my understanding is this is the first time that Festival Hall has been used for a camp. And so that was completed in March, and he looks forward to having other youth camps this summer. So it's not only staying busy for shows, it's also being used for some other activities. And my feeling is anytime you can get the kids into the theater, that's a great opportunity. And the reason that we can do that is because, of course, we have the wonderful Festival Hall here in Pembroke. Thank you, Your Worship.
Perhaps we should all have cowboy hats and cowboy boots.
Yeah, that's right. Why not, eh? Live it up. You're only on the planet once. I have a bunch of announcements here. First of all, on behalf of the mayor and I, we have a community watch meeting on May 5th. It's a Monday night at 7 p.m. at the fire hall. It's our we have meet twice a year at the fire hall. We invite everyone to come and learn about Community Watch, and we already have 8 zones established, and it's a community effort in a partnership with the Police Services Board, the City of Pembroke, and the OPP. So looking forward to a good meeting. The Pembroke Care for Community Garden, it's a 4th year. Who wants to buy a rain barrel? They're on sale now at rainbarrel.ca. This is our major fundraiser. All proceeds go towards the seeds and planting for the St. Joseph's Food Bank gardens that we have there and our other gardens there also. So that's a major fundraiser for us. So rainbarrel.ca. We need 75 prepaid to get free shipping. The museum, the Ottawa Valley Heritage Center, I'm helping with Angela Zebarth and Mike Graham, and we're organizing and other volunteers, a museum fundraiser next Saturday at Fitzy Sports Bar. We want to thank all the bands that have signed up. $10 entry, and it starts at 7, and all proceeds go to the local museum. Everyone got their card here. 2 signature events on the summer again. This will be the 10th annual Pembroke Multicultural Festival, Friday, July 18th and Saturday the 19th. And I'm happy to announce also that the Ottawa Valley Busker Fest will be downtown Pembroke, August 22nd and 23rd, and that's turned into a major signature destination event. Let me see here. Did I miss anything? I don't think so. That's it. Thank you.
Fairness, though, Deputy Mayor, it amazes me that every year the Rain Barrel campaign and the number of people that want rain barrels, which is good. It just amazes me that the number of people that partake in that. So, having said that, I understand, Deputy Mayor, you have a motion to move into a closed
Put up my
session.
cowboy hat. Motion to move into a caucus meeting on April 1st, 2025, moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Troy Purcell, that this meeting become a closed meeting to discuss proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of lands by the municipality as per section 2392C of the Municipal Act regarding Transcan Business Park.
And thank you. So moved by the Deputy Mayor and seconded by Councillor Purcell. This meeting become a closed meeting to discuss proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of lands by the municipality as per section 2392C Municipal Act regarding the Trans-Canada Business Park. Those in favor? That is carried. We'll now move into a closed session.